As we have done for the past 10, 11 years, every year we have introduced a lot of new features and, of course, put in all your support dollar and work. This year, not being an exception, we have developed a large number of features. Will be released under 2018, version 11. For today's session, I wanted to basically go over a few large features and development that we have done, and then briefly discuss some 100 plus additional features that have been added for version 11. So for today, we're going to discuss the constant contact integration, tax integration, data audit trail, load scheduling, assignment, advanced queries, advanced exports, inventory, and then, of course, some large number of features. With that, I'm just going to go ahead and switch over to the program. If you're not familiar with Constant Contact, it's basically an email marketing service where you be uploading the list of your customers, prospects, create a nice looking template, have it email it out for you, and then they will basically send you a result as far as who opened it, who deleted it, and who accessed your website, depending on all your configuration. So basically our integration is to ease that particular process, and it is done through our campaign manager. The same campaign manager that you have been using, except now that when you create a campaign, you add the members as you like, whoever you want it to be part of that campaign. And simply just check this checkbox. It says enable constant contact. We have an automated service that would now take a list of those contacts and send it over to constant contact for you. And then as constant contact processes those emails, you have an option to go there and look at the analysis and, get an idea how well the campaign worked or your email marketing worked. Additionally, we will be capturing the results and bringing it back and associating it with the campaign for you. We will have a report that's kind of showing you the status of the campaign and how it went. The second integration we have done is with taxes, companies who provide tax services. This basically eliminates the need of you constantly worry about what area, what tax you should charge, because they have everything up to date. These are the services. They, of course, charge you for it. But it really makes it easier to manage if you are in the area with complicated tax processes. California is kind of straightforward, but some of the states like Illinois, for example, they have a fairly complicated tax process. So we do integrate with two different tax services, and the way basically it would happen is that every time you save the case, we get the preliminary tax calculation for you so you can see what the tax looks like. And then we have automated services at night that when all the cases are invoiced, it will go ahead and register that for you. As part of that service, they also do the filing for you if you choose to use that service. So if you work with four different tax jurisdictions, they will actually do the filing for you, and if there's discrepancy, they handle all of that. The next topic I wanted to review is our new data audit trail. Labs are always wondering, who added this product, who deleted this product, who changed this customer, why the email is changed, why the address is changed, and so on. As of right now, these are tables where we track the changes. And generally, most every field that gets changed will get registered. For example, if you go on the customer, it will show you every single update that has been done to it, and who did it, and what time, and so on. And then in the note area, it actually shows you what the data is right now and what it was before. Like in this case, billing address 1 is right now 8105 airline and used to be blank. Similarly, like if you go to the case product, these are the product on the case, and you are wondering why all of a sudden your product ID 1194 disappeared from the case, and then you can go to this user and say why you deleted it. If it is updated, the same thing. You may see some extra data here you can ignore. Again, the system is completely generic, and it basically records everything that is changed on the record, which also helps us to trace internally in case something was changed. And that goes the same for products, the system log, as far as the fax was processed, who logged in, who logged out. These are basically all the system logs. If you use QuickBooks Sync, for example, you'll see it here. If you use other integrations such as DDX integration, it would also show it here, as well as the automation server. The next topic is load scheduling assignment. The idea behind the load scheduling assignment is to basically use a large number of parameters to see if you have enough capacity, first of all, to do the cases that came in, and also be able to see who is doing what and what your load basically looks like. Now, the scheduling system currently in the system stays the same as it is. So all the cases that come in, you get scheduled, linear scheduling as it happens now. And then we have automated services that will run every night and tries to do the assignment to the technicians who are available or capable of doing that particular task. So it pretty much pre-schedules, pre-assigns the task on the technician. Let me kind of go over the bits and pieces that would affect the load scheduling assignment, and then kind of show you what it would look like. To start, we look at the employees. Once you have an employee that, the employees that does certain tasks, for example, let me find somebody here. So Sally, in this case, does these tasks. On every task, such as, let's say, die trim, there is an extended option here where you could say this technician basically can do so many units a day. Or you can say a 1 unit takes 5 minutes to do, or 1 hour to do, whatever matrix you want to use for that particular, for this particular task. So every task basically would have this definition. And one additional option that you would have here is their working hours, which is going to default to whatever your lab business hour is. But if the technician works at a different time, you can then say he only works Wednesday, Thursdays, and Friday, and from what time to what time. And what is his lunch break, so we can exclude that. Otherwise, you leave it as business hours. If technician is on vacation, sick, time off, or whatever, you will be also able to add that, that he is, has a sick day off. Now, the reason this configuration has to be here is because when we go to assign the task to the technicians, we have to know their availability and the hours they work to be able to intelligently process that. The next part that impacts the workload scheduling, of course, is on your production tasks. So let's look at the production tasks. Again, this is a list of all your tasks. You can go ahead and pick whatever. Now, looking at the task, again, we have a load scheduling configuration, which is similar to the technician. If you do not define it on the technician and you only define it on the task, then this will be applied to all the technicians that do this particular task. Again, you can say this takes 2 hours to do, or as a lab, we can do 100 units of this a day. Again, for the technician. Similarly, we always use the rule and exception. Whatever you set here is a rule, but then under each product, when you are defining your task, define one your task. All right. Now, for each product, you can define a task, and each task now can be the same as the production task, or it could deviate from that. In other words, for this one particular product, these are basically most of the information you had before. But for the load scheduling, you have an option to assign a task to a technician, to a team, or identify this task to be a task that is done by the equipment. For example, if you have a task called mill that basically is done with a milling machine, then you would say that this task is performed by an equipment. So again, we have a complete list of equipment and how many units you can do. We more or less treat the equipment like a technician. If your milling machine can only mill 100 a day, obviously you can't schedule 120. Or you can assign it to the team. There are many labs have a group of people that they do the same function, and they would like the task to be assigned to the team as opposed to individual technicians. So once this configuration basically is done, every night after your case entry is over, either automated services is set up to kick in, or you can manually run that process, which will then generate all the assignment for you. Now, on the same day or the following day that you come to the lab, we will have what we call the dashboard, which basically has a number of different views, kind of giving you the overall or overview of your lab, what it looks like. First of all, you can look at each day individually, or you can simply do a shift click to select the week if you like, and it basically shows you, for example, here we have 842 ceramic, which is 64% of our load. And down to Crown and Bridge and Venture and whatever department you may have. Also down here at the bottom, we're showing how many units have been assigned, how many have been completed, and this red part here showing these are the unassigned tasks, which I will get to in a minute. The next over is the department load. Just kind of showing you what your department looks like, how many tasks have been assigned, how many have been completed, how many is unassigned. And then here it gives you the approximate capacity, kind of calculated by hours. Now, when the load scheduling assignment happens at night, we do two separate parts. The first part does the assignment immediately for tomorrow, because that is the most important day. And then we also have an option to do the assignment for the next 7, 10, 15 days or whatever you choose to. So the next 7 or 10 days will give you a projection as, what the lab would basically look like, on that day. Like if I go to next week, these are all assigned, so it hasn't really get there yet. But so this is basically our department overview, and you can look at here in front of Bridge, for example. You could see that we have assigned 100,000 and nobody has done anything to it yet. The next one over is technician load, which you can select, let's say, a venture department, and let's look at what Sally got to do, or 2 of them, or 3 of them, and so on. And again, you can select a date range, so you can see more days. If you want to look at basically the entire department, then you can just simply select venture, and it shows you what their load looks like. And many of these great grids, by the way, when you're going through them, it shows you the list of all the cases. For clarity, let me just take one off and just put 1 technician. Here are all the cases that are currently assigned to this technician for that whole week. If you choose to look at the case, you can, from here, you can just say open, which will then automatically open the case for you, and you can make any changes as you like. The next one over is 7-day capacity. If you're wondering, a particular task, let's say dyed shrimp, how does it look like, in the next 7 days? This is more or less your load, what has been assigned, and what has been completed, and so on. If you want to look at individual day, then you could just simply check that one, select that one date, and to see basically any task, what it will look like. The next is the calendar. The calendar basically is a day view, a week view, and a month view, which shows you the total unit you have on each day. You can select multiple department or single department or overall the entire lab. Even though most of these are really informational, something that you can look at and just kind of evaluate how lab is doing. But perhaps the most important part for your production manager is the unassigned task. So when you come in in the morning after the system has done its assignment, let's say today's 22nd or today's 25th, these are basically all the tasks that we were not able to assign to any technician, meaning that you are over capacity. So let's go to a day that we have a little bit less, because I have scheduled thousands of cases. Okay, so let's look at 23rd. Now, these are the tasks that we could not assign. So at this point, that's the first thing you want to look at, and then decide what you're going to do. You either can assign it to a technician and ask them to, stay over a little bit, or you may decide to call the doctor. If there are too many of them, call the doctor and change the due date. If you chose to do that, obviously, you can, again, one second here. You can, again, right-click on the case, open the case, call the doctor, make a call, and whatever you have to do. Otherwise, you can see in the left side, depending on what we are not able to assign, we show you the task, and we show you the people who can do it, or the technician who can do that. So in this case, let's say I'm going to go ahead and James only got 1 assignment, so I'll go ahead and select him. Notice in the left, he already got 1 meal for this case, and now I have 1 unassigned, so I'm just going to go ahead and drag it over. So now the task is assigned to him. Now going back to our day again, so let me take this off. So now I still got these left. For example, I have final PC sitting here. That's really all is left. And for final QC, I only have Sally. You can do that. So I go ahead and select Sally. And you can also do shift click, by the way, or control click and select bunch of them. Drag it over and now give it to Sally. Now Sally got 39. If you feel Sally is overloaded and you want to take some of them away, you can put them back into unassigned and then go to another technician and assign it back to them. So you can shuffle these however you like, hopefully before technicians start working. Otherwise you'll be messing them up. So again, this is probably the most important part of the load scheduling. Now, the way we do the load scheduling assignment, we use a method called genetic algorithm. If you want to read more about it, just Google it and it will give you a pretty good insight as what that means. Essentially, we go through from 1 to 10 depths, if you will, and it's your option. And we cycle through it 10 times. Or 5 times if you choose that. And we do first linear scheduling, and then we go back and say, well, if we move these around, do we have a better schedule? And we keep doing it until we get to the optimal schedule. We also look at the due date. So if there are 2 cases and both of them take 7 days to do, but one of them, doctor has requested the earlier due date, it will go through, try to find those, and bring the one with the earlier due date up front so you can get them faster. There are a lot of calculation goes on with this, so after you start using it, you get more familiar with it. The next option I wanted to talk about is our advanced query. As you already have seen in the past, we have a large number of queries, whether it's customer queries or sales queries, but often enough, we find labs need to do a lot more query or different queries, and additionally, they may not want to do query just on the customer. Maybe they want to do a query on the special pricing or catalogs or other data files in the system. The advanced query basically allows you to create English-like language, any query that you would like to create. I'll go through creating one and then use a couple of the existing ones to kind of show you what you can do. So I'm going to start with the new query. Call it overview. And then after you name it, you have to select what is your base table. Now, base table basically means that all the data is driven from that table to other tables. For example, if you are going to start with a customer, once you select the customer's table, these are all the other tables that you can use from. In other words, I want to know all the customers that are in California and have not made a payment since August 1st. Or I'm looking for customers in that state or has a purchase order or has a sales of this kind or has a case of this kind or has a special price of this kind. So, I mean, just use your imagination. Just about every table that has data related to the customer will appear here. In order to build your query, you have to first select the table. So here, for example, I select the customer. These are all the fields that is available for the customer. So I'm looking for, say, customers who have past due 60 that are greater than $100. So that's basically a simple query. But let's say I also want a look at sales by department as well, and say their month-to-date sales, let's say, is less than $100. So, I mean, that is essentially a query. Now, again, just think of every possibility. You can build it however you want. There are several other options that is more advanced and requires some training and understanding. For example, if you are familiar with how the database syntax works, you can create your own query expression to type it in. You can add groups where you basically be doing selecting within the select and so on. So that gets a little bit more advanced. Now, once you have your query set up, let's say I just created this query and I want to see what the records look like. Simply click on Preview Query, which will show you the list of all the customers that fall in that query. Notice here it says 50 out of 94, so there are 94 records. If you would like to export this right away, you can simply say export to Excel. Too many X's in there. Which will then open up Excel for you with the data. If you wish to, if you wish for this query to be used by other people and be part of the system, you simply go ahead and publish it. Once you publish the query, if you are on the customer record, let's say, you look at the list of queries, you'll notice a new option here. It says Advanced Queries. You open that up, and the query you have created will appear. Now everyone will be able to use it. By selecting that query, notice down here it says 94 records are basically selected. Now, after the query is created, let's say this is the query that you may want to be using for mailing, and you want to send a list out to the mailing house with a selected field, or you want to do other processing. Once the query is created, you can also export it from here. And when you export it, you can use a export template that you had created before with all the fields you would like to see, and then say select, and it will basically do the same thing. The difference between the previous export was a predefined field that we showed you, but when you use the export template, it would actually pick a template that you have created with the fields you like. For example, here I have lifetime to-date sales, year-to-date sales, year-to-date remake, year-to-date credit, and last month remake, whatever field you like. So this would be a good place to actually show you the advanced export. If you have done export before, we only allow the export to be on the customer table only. But now when you go to add an export, you'll be able to select any of these tables you like. For example, you want to export all your products, you can go ahead and choose. And once you select the table, we show you the applicable queries. Let's say I want to know all my active products. And then from there, I go and basically select the list of all the fields that I want in my export. So let's say product ID, production lab, the department for tax, a GL account, whatever it is that you want to choose. So give it a name. And then if you like to reorder these, you can also just move them up and down as you like. And then click Save. And then from here, you basically can go ahead and do an export, which will then basically use the selected field that you have and export it for you. All right. Next, I'm going to jump to inventory. Inventory basically is built on two parts. One is the master setting or global setting. we have like item categories where you can define. These are completely user-defined and can be used any which way you like to use them. We have adjustment reason when you do make adjustment. The type of item, is it gold, is it zirconia, is it powder? Unit of measure as how you measure things. Are they in dozen, ounces, pieces? And you can define all of these, by the way, however you want. So let's look at the inventory items. Inventory items are essentially built on top of two existing items in the system, so you don't have to double work. Basically, the two are products and materials. So we kind of look at the inventory item as two different pieces. One are the items that you actually sell, and the other ones are consumable, which we call material. And some could be both. For example, you may have an implant screw that you sell to the other labs or you sell to the doctor, or maybe the implant screw that you actually use as part of your manufacturing process. So this list obviously would be blank for you when you start the system. So now you have two options. You can add a product or you can add a material. We already have a maintenance in the global setting for you under product and material. So let's just go ahead and look at the product. We look at the list of all your existing products. So we pick the product. Here you can select who's the manufacturer part number, certification number, unit of measure. This particular thing is gone by weight and by ounce. Then you can define your item type, item category. If the shade is involved, you can do that, the base material, shrinkage, and stuff. Now, the important part here is also the vendor that you normally order this from. So let's say in this case is CAP. And also, if you want the system to order this item automatically, which I will explain a little bit later via our purchase order system. Here we show the on-hand quantity, the reorder point, when you get to a point of reordering, and then safety stock, which basically will give you notification once you reach that point. If your safety stock is 10, your reorder quantity could be 20, but once you reach 10, then it will notify you. And of course the notes here. The same thing basically applies if you are adding material as part of the inventory. If you do have related item, in other words, if you order this material, two other materials should be ordered with it, very similar to the related products, you can define them here. And the transaction log, of course, shows whatever transaction may have happened, with this inventory item. Something was checked out, item was received, and so on. So this is essentially your base setting up your inventory. Under the tools menu, there are three options under inventory management. The first one is vendors. Here is where you basically define all your vendors. Name, address, information, pretty straightforward. Then you have inventory items that you have received. Well, first of all, it's the purchase order itself that you would be creating whenever you order the product from this vendor or yet another vendor as well. You can select that. And then add the items that you are ordering. The next one is to receive the purchase order. So if I have placed this purchase order, I received it today, I simply, can receive it from here. The next one is basically a hint based on your reorder quantity. It's just kind of showing you that these are the items that you would need to order when you are looking at a vendor. Let's put that aside here. The next item is purchase order. Even though you can see the purchase order under each vendor, for example, here when I go under a given vendor, I could see the purchase order, but here's basically like our pickup manager, if you will, which will show you the list of all the purchase orders that are pending. From here, you can look at them and receive them. You can receive one at a time, or you can do a shift click if you receive all of them and receive them at the same time. When you receive the item, if the order, if it's not a complete order, you can simply say, I ordered 100, but they sent me 50. So you can put 50 and receive this, and then it will still remain on the list for the other 50, and then it would, be waiting for the other 50 for you to receive. Next one over is maintenance. Inventory maintenance basically is designed to allow you to adjust inventory for whatever reason. Something is damaged, broken, it was returned. And also it helps you to start the system. When you begin using inventory, you need to be able to load what you have in the system. And then the second part of the inventory maintenance is the checkout item. Now, there are two ways that the inventory item gets depleted. We reduce your inventory for you. One is consumable that you essentially hand to the technician, and that requires a checkout. So a technician will walk up to your PO department or whoever supply room and request that I need for this lab on technician in April, and you give them whatever items you're going to give them. So by simply giving these items to them by checking them out, we automatically reduce the inventory for you. Now, if the inventory item is a product that you're actually selling to the customer and it appears on the invoice as a line item, every night we have an automated system which will look at all your invoices and to see which one of those items or products on that invoice is the inventory, and it will automatically reduce the inventory for you. So that's essentially what we have done. Now, there are a lot we plan on doing with inventory. For example, real quickly here on the checkout part, I kind of didn't show you that. When you are checking out the item, we do ask you for the lot number. So what we are going in the post releases, we want to capture the lot numbers that technicians check out, and hopefully you use the existing features that associates the lot number used with each case, and then we will be able to come back and say, to the technician, we gave you this much of this product, and it was used on 20 cases, whereas the rest of them, it should have been 30 or 40 or something. So not only we will have a traceability on the case itself, we will also have accountability with the technicians as well. Additionally, we plan in the future to add a way of receiving the item and not just saying I received 50 items, for you to actually scan 50 barcode with the lot number of those items, so we can now, during the checkout, to tell you which lot number you're checking out, to kind of make the system more robust in that end. Again, that specification is done, but we didn't want to overwhelm the whole system on the first round, so we're going to basically be looking at that in the future. The last part, which I'm not going to detail out, but just to kind of give you an idea, that there have been over 100 plus, and maybe more, feature requests that came directly from all of you guys, from all of our labs. So we have to carefully go through over 200-300 of them actually, and be able to accomplish 100 plus of those features for you. We will be providing a list of all the features. This is really more of a raw data from our tracking system. but we will be providing a list to whoever would be interested. In a quick note, the second week of September, we will be making version 11 available to customers who have a separate test server. If you do have a test server, you can request the installation. We will be installing it for you on the test server for your evaluation and giving you the opportunity to get started and get familiar with the new feature and kind of play around with it. The release of the product is currently scheduled for November.